On this week's FR Racing's Garage Talk, we're joined by our old friend Andy Amendola, who comes on to promote his new book, Josef's Big Dream, about Indy 500 champion, two-time Indy 500 champion, Josef Newgarden. It's been a lot of fun to listen to him and hear some of the stories from behind the scenes working with both Josef and his wife Ashley. So stick around for that. We thought having a guest last week was fun. We decided to bring one back, one you're all familiar with. This is FR Racing's Garage Talk. I'm DJ Flook.
I'm Eric Richardson.
And by now, our guest today should need no introduction. This is the fourth time on the recorded show. We've done a live show with him before. Uh, you know, Still gets an introduction. Please welcome back Andy Amendola, author.
Welcome.
Yes, author, traveler of motorsports, rapidly adding on to the Red Racer book collection. Welcome back. As always, glad to have you here with us today.
Yeah, thank you, DJ. Thank you, Eric. I love being here with you guys. It's always fun catching up, and I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah,
And
always a
so,
pleasure to have you in.
so we've been trying to get this on the schedule for a while. I mean, your book came out months ago. It was announced at the Indy 500, but the new one is Josef's Big Dream, which is your first collaborative effort with an actual driver. It helps that coming off his first Indy 500 win, then we'll get into it because we talked before the 500 and a lot happened there for you. But we'll get right into that. So, you've got this book. We'll get into the writing process and how because the average person can't just walk up and be like, "Hey, Josef Newgarden, world famous race car driver and now two-time Indy 500 champion, want to write a book together?" Like that just doesn't happen. So, but actually, you know what? Let's start there. Like, how does that happen? Like,
I have to say I'm very fortunate. It happened very serendipitously. He actually found me. Surprisingly, I had launched earlier this year. I launched the ABCs of IndyCar book, which was a dream come true for me because it started this amazing partnership with IndyCar. It's officially licensed, which means it's at the tracks. And I went to St. Pete this year.
sticker on the back.
The hologram is key. That was a dream come true. And Josef had heard about some of those books that I've written before, and we have some friends in common in the IndyCar world, and they put us in touch. And we started talking about this time last year, actually. He said that he had an idea for a book all about his challenges in kind of the teaching kids to never give up on the path to becoming an Indy 500 champ. And we started talking in December last year, and basically we agreed to really kind of do a sprint and create this book in 6 months, which was incredibly challenging, but amazing, really fun. And we just jumped on the phone call together. He started telling me what he was looking for, what his expectations were. And I was very clear about what I want Red Racer books to be and kind of the level of quality and kind of writing that I want. And also I made it clear to him that, look, the book business is not going to make you $1 million. It's a low margin business, but it is a very rewarding business. And he was totally cool with it. And he just wanted to do something that was special for him and to get kids, interested in racing. And that's what we do at Red Racer Books. So it was a great matchup. And he's been a great partner from day one.
And on top of that, too, we can't forget his wife, Ashley, who also
Of course.
helped with this book, too.
Yeah, it was incredibly collaborative process.
And I've got the 2023
Nice.
winner still hanging here. So
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it was great. And he was very open with me. We spent many hours on the phone, on video calls, kind of going through his story. I learned about, his childhood and his entire path coming up. And that's what's told in that book. It's really an interesting biography, but it's also a great story for kids to teach perseverance. because there's so many obstacles in that path to getting, even just getting into IndyCar and then getting into the 500 was incredibly challenging. And there's a lot of setbacks on the way. It really teaches mental toughness and kind of grit, I think, which is a very important quality.
Yeah, and
You know,
he's definitely gone through a lot into that lead up to that first title. It's been a very up and down racing career.
Yeah.
and the other thing too with it that I it's like it's like I love biographies. I love reading biographies, but sometimes when you get these authors that put out these 400-page biographies, it's like it takes me a long time to get through them. But in a kid's book format, I could read this with my kids. I learned a lot about him. He got a late start into racing.
Yeah.
More often than not, like you hear about these kids that are like, they're karting champions at 5 years old. And it's like, at 5 years old, I'm lucky if I wasn't tripping over my own feet on a soccer field. But he was really late getting into
Yeah.
it.
I think that was really fascinating to me because just like you, it's like you hear about kids starting at 4 or 5 karting, but his parents were not really they were risk averse, let's say, and they didn't want him in any kind of motorized vehicle for a long time, and all he wanted was a kart. He actually started with scooters, and that was like his big, first foray into a motorized competition, and he did scooter racing for a while, and then eventually he did get into karting, and that obviously worked out really well for him, but it did take a while, and his parents were very kind of protective of him and wanted yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. My
It's
parents were the
dangerous.
same way. It
It's
is.
dangerous. Like it's
Yeah,
dangerous. Like
understandable. You don't want to see him rocketing down a track at how many miles an hour?
at 13
Exactly.
years old. I mean, it says he was 13 when his parents finally bought him that first go-kart. And yeah, it's kind of scary as a parent, especially having young kids, thinking about like, you know what, I'm gonna make the decision to let my kid drive a little, piece of metal and plastic with four wheels and a lawnmower engine, 60 miles an hour down a twisting and turning track. It's like,
Exactly. Yeah, with very little protection.
not my most responsible parenting decision.
Yeah, but I think that's what's great is that he actually stuck with it. Like, it's hard if you're not in the karting world so early, and coming in late is even a big challenge, but he just, he really wanted it. So I think that kind of talks to the grit and the persistence it takes to be a champion.
Yeah, definitely a great story just to see what it takes. And it doesn't matter if you start early or late. If you set a goal, just keep after it and don't give up on it. Be willing to maybe struggle at times, but more than likely it's going to pay off at the end of the day.
Yeah,
And for
yeah,
Joseph, it definitely has.
that's for sure.
Yes, he's climbed to the mountain. He's the first back-to-back winner in over 20 years, and you witnessed the back-to-back in person. And you're texting us photos of here's you standing on the yard of bricks with the winning driver and the trophy. It's like, get out of here.
I know,
I
I
don't
know,
think anybody could even script that perfect of like a first Indy 500 race either.
I know, I know. I'm getting emotional because it
Uh,
was just a dream come true. We went there, and I was actually there for qualifying, promoting the ABCs of IndyCar book, and then during qualifying weekend, and then afterwards, the Thursday before the 500, we announced this book, and it wasn't ready for sales, ready for pre-orders, but we didn't actually have it printed yet. And a few days later, he wins again, and none of us thought this would ever happen.
Especially how
And
slow they were leading up to the race. Like they were kind of like an afterthought, really.
Yeah, they were on fire at qualifying, but then they changed that tune, and it's like, whoa, where did that Penske speed go?
Yeah.
They were not good.
mm,
And it's
but
just, the fastest race car doesn't always win. And we proved that again. And, but
yeah.
I think I said to you after you won, you sent the picture. I'm like, do you have to go back and now amend the book?
And we did. We actually did.
Really? What?
We did. We
What?
did make a tweak in the back, I think. It should
Does it
be in
say two?
there.
I don't think I noticed that.
It should be in the last infographic where we kind of have all the information and the actual photographs. We didn't change any photography. I think I added a line. It might have not made it into that first edition, but
Oh yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, in May of 2024, he returned. It was the first back-to-back winner in over 20 years.
yeah. So yeah, I mean that wasn't the plan, and it delayed things a little bit. But
That
I didn't send it to print, on the off chance that something happened like that. So
well, it's funny too. There was that movie back in 2004 about the Red Sox. Was it Jimmy Fallon? It was Drew Barrymore. I want to say like Jimmy Fallon, and it was about this guy who loved the Red Sox, and they were filming footage, and it's just like the movie's gonna end with the Red Sox flaming out of the playoffs, and they ended up having that 3-0 recovery, and then they won the World Series, and so they ended up incorporating them winning the World Series into the movie and completely changing the end of the movie because it's like, oh my God, the Red Sox did it. They finally won. And they had
finally,
to
yeah.
so they had to change the whole ending of the movie on the fly like that because wait a second, it's you got the Red Sox celebrating, and here's Jimmy Fallon and his, actor, movie acting relationship with Drew Barrymore running on the field celebrating with them. And it's like, you had that moment too. And it's unreal. Like
Not as big a change,
no,
but
but
yeah.
it's still like it's just I mean, what did you think the chances were going in that weekend that you'd be standing on the yard of bricks at the end of it next to him with his car and his trophy?
Pretty much zero. Like I mean, if you look back at the stats, it's very hard to win it twice in a row. It rarely happens. Winning, and after like writing the book and understand like all the 11 attempts that he had before he did win, how difficult it was. And it's like you have to get everything perfect. The car has to be perfect, and you have to be lucky, and you have to be willing to give it all and risk it all. And for everything to line up and to win it's hard to win once, to win twice back to back. It just, was not expected. It wasn't on the radar. I mean, I knew it could happen, but I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think that's what makes the race so great is you don't
exactly.
you don't know. Like some of these guys will win it 4 times, like the 5 or so people that have done that. You'll have other guys who've run the race 20 times and don't even sniff the podium. And it just, that's just how that race is. You'll have your moments where Julio Castroneves wins his fourth, and I don't think anybody even remotely predicted that happening. You had a rookie J.R. Hildebrand leading in the final lap and crashing in turn 4 on the final, and the late Dan
Yeah.
Weldon sneaks through and wins. Nobody like you don't see it coming, and that's what one of the many reasons why this race is so special for so many people. In addition it to
Yeah.
Yeah,
being
so
the
many things
culture.
have to go right. You look at Alex Rossi's win in the 100th of just being a fuel saving race. Newgarden winning this past year. If that race actually kicks off at noon under the hot skies, does
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
outside pass stick or does he put it in the wall? It
Totally.
just so many different things that I think one of the big things that makes Indy 500 so special and so difficult that it means so much for the drivers to win it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really special. And one thing that's really cool is that, actually we would have been on the bricks with whoever won because IndyCar has a really cool program called Rookie Racers. And it's for kids, and you sign up, and it basically gives kids special access to different things that happen on a race weekend. Sometimes it's like high-fiving the drivers on their way out to the track. Sometimes it's like touring the Firestone garage. It could be all sorts of things, or like cutting the line at the autograph session, for example. And at the 500, it was you get to take a picture with the winner, no matter who the winner is. So we've had planned to stay and go to take photos with our kids so they could do that. And then it was just so
Just,
magical that it turned
just,
out to be
just so
Joseph.
happened it was this guy right here.
Exactly. And that was really, really incredibly special. I mean, I have a lot of respect for IMS and Indy 500, and it's a magical place. Like I spent a lot of time, probably spent like 10 days on track in the month of May. This year, I'll probably spend double that. But it was a magical experience. And Eric, we got to hang out at But
Yeah.
that porch party the night before, I can't believe like that was really nice, really special to be in Speedway and then we even saw Renus VK like
Yeah,
a
that's
few
Yeah,
right.
doors
that was the first
down.
time I've gotten to do that, and then have Marshall Pruitt come up,
Exactly,
who
yeah.
the racing
Yeah,
writer out there.
the
He
IndyCar
walks up
writer,
like,
like
"Hey, Renus VK's just down the street. You guys want to go see him?"
I
Sure.
was like, am I dreaming? What's happening here? This is amazing.
it's it's
Just
just
the fan base.
surreal.
Everybody was just so cool, welcoming. Everybody was just out and about. It was so cool.
Yeah, I think the fans of the 500 are really amazing people. And it's a really great community, really welcoming of whoever, you know. If you love racing, if you love the 500, you know, they'll welcome you with open arms and it's a great community.
It, did you brave it and go into the snake pit at all while, while you were there?
No, we did not. I mean, we were at Carb
I'm
Day and we
I'm
were
too old for that.
I had my kids. I had my kids. Like, it was really hard to get around
Well,
with the
the
kids.
crazy thing with Snake Pit too, you have to have your race ticket, but then you have to have your other ticket to go into it. I think it's another like $75 ticket for the Snake Pit.
Mm.
But it fills up. I mean, it's like copy this template and move it out, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
it
you know,
was,
the Memorial Day weekend obviously helps with the long holiday and the culture of it. It doesn't have the same ring to it as the Portland Grand Prix. You know, it's not to pick on Portland, but that was just the first name that came to mind. You know, we talked a lot with Sarah last week about this. Is just when the Indy 500 happens, you know, it's a religion there. Like it's
oh yeah,
Speedway, Indiana. You know, everybody knows it. You go to having dinner 2 blocks from Texas Motor Speedway, the wait staff at the restaurant, why is everybody coming in
right.
into town here? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, and it
It's
is funny. It is just the Indy 500 also is it's when the Grand Prix goes 2 weeks prior. I literally park right outside the gate of turn one, get in and out with no traffic, and it's almost a ghost town even in the middle of the race. Is it's a fraction of the vendors and concessions and everything that's open.
yeah. Yeah, I felt like that at qualifying weekend too. Like they close off a lot of the stands, so they don't need them. They don't sell that many tickets for that, but um it's nice because you can get around, you can go up to turn one, second floor there and kind of sit in seats that are off limits during the actual 500. But yeah, Indianapolis really shows up, and I'm really excited because this next year we'll participate in the 500 festival, and we're also talking to them about the
Oh wow!
study trips that they do. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be in Indianapolis a
So
lot
you're
in
gonna are you
May.
gonna be in the parade?
I don't think I'll be in the
Oh, I
parade.
thought say
No,
yeah, you should get them to take
no,
a
but
convertible. Just
I'll do a book truck.
If you get the Red Racer book truck, I will volunteer for you.
just
I'll come down and drive the truck for you.
just go yeah go get somebody yeah just go get somebody to wrap a whole car with just this collage of your books on it and just
It's not a bad idea. Um, it's not a bad idea. They have a big kids' day event, and they have the marathon. So I
oh
think I'll
yeah.
be up for those, and I'll definitely have a booth up there, selling various books, and we'll have some new books next year. So it'll be really exciting, and it's a really great place.
I've done
Yeah, I'm
the
planning on being down again this year for the 500, so we'll be sure to
Nice.
meet up again.
Eric,
Yes.
how many times have you done the Indy half marathon in May?
Um, I did it once. I'd signed up a couple times afterwards, but various things, and then a health issue popped up one year, so I wasn't able to
I
do it again.
I did
It
it
is one thing I would
once.
like to do again, just because it's such an amazing environment. It's a
It
half
really
marathon,
is.
13.1 miles, but when you get to spend 2.5 miles around the track and you literally go the entire stretch and there's bands and cheer groups and boosters and just people lining the entire way, it's
But
really something fun to be a part of.
my favorite one the year I ran it, you know, they had they have these like garage cover band type, you know, people
Mhm.
stationed around. But the best one this was after I left the track and we're on our way back downtown for the finish, and they had a full polka band on the street corner with polka dancers doing this whole dance routine on the corner. And I just like, if I wasn't trying to like beat my 2 hour goal here, I would stop and watch this because it's
Yeah.
incredible.
I think I saw them too.
Yeah, I think I
I think
saw
they're
them
there.
too.
Yeah, I think they're there every
During
year
the
too.
race. I feel like I saw them in the pagoda or something.
It's just, yeah, it's just such a, just a fun, exciting time. But there is some breaking news out of we'll say the Memorial Weekend racing is that after 2025, they're moving Monaco into the first
Yeah.
week of June. So we will no longer have the Memorial Day weekend triple of Monaco, Indy, Coke 600, which,
Depending where it falls, we could maybe see the Canadian Grand Prix potentially around there because it's getting moved up.
oh, really? Okay. I didn't hear
Yeah,
that
the
part of it.
Canadian Grand Prix is getting moved up. I think the
Oh,
weekend after Miami, they're
that
trying
makes
to
more
Oh,
balance out
sense.
some of that scheduling, and I think Japan
they do some
moved.
very weird scheduling in Formula One
They're
Oh
where
trying to
yeah.
keep it more regional to the
the costs are absurd,
Americas, and
but they put these banners of net zero 2030, but then you look at a guy did this video, he does them every year, of the Formula One schedule, and he has like an animated globe, and it has
Yep.
like the plane going through it. It's like, okay, so we're in the Middle East here, and where are we going next? Oh yeah, we're going to Miami. And are we going to stick around the U.S.? No, we're coming back to Monaco after
Right.
that, and yeah, it's just absurd. Like if they would regionalize and group these up, and it's like I get it, Monaco is traditionally in May, and this is then, and this is then, but it's like if you're going to hit your net zero and bring down the cost for the teams, travel is a big expense.
Huge expense. That's the
And
biggest kind of expenditure and the biggest kind of environmental effect,
yeah,
right?
right. Yeah, if you're going to hit net 2030, net zero 2030, you're not doing it that way, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it takes time. There's a lot of factors at play,
yeah.
contracts and
Well, of
sponsors
course.
and weather and all that. But yeah, it could,
Permits,
yeah,
permits on the city streets, that's a huge one too. And
of
uh,
course.
but you look at NASCAR next year, they're going to Mexico City, and we're looking at I showed you this to you the other week, Eric. I said, look at the hauler schedule. It's like they have to go from like, what was it, Pocono to Mexico to Michigan or something like that. But they typically bring the haulers back to Charlotte first. So it's going to be like Charlotte, Charlotte to Pocono, back to Charlotte to Mexico, back to Charlotte to Michigan, back to Charlotte, all in like a
maybe
3 week
not
period.
every team,
Maybe,
but some of the teams will send out like a smaller hauler
yeah,
that will sub
Smaller
out
hauler,
cars.
smaller hauler.
smaller hauler.
Start
I like that.
coining that term.
The other thing they
And they'll
announced
switch out the
too.
cars, take back the damaged ones, or take the road course car back and bring out their intermediate car or whatever that case may be. So teams sometimes will do that to minimize some of that
Yep.
mileage.
The other thing too they announced, we've got Las Vegas this weekend, and Eric, we still haven't decided if we're going to do a live stream for that.
Yeah, we gotta look at that
That's at like
scheduling.
3 in the
Actually,
morning.
I am making myself available. It's up to you to make the decision.
If it wasn't for being in the middle of a swim meet and then a 5 hour drive home Sunday night, getting back Monday morning, um,
Oh yeah,
I don't know. We'll think about it. Maybe I'll be there for like the start of it if
and then I'll just sit
we
there
get
by myself for
another
like an
guest or
hour.
something.
But
The
back to the Monaco thing, that
Yeah,
I think that's great because I mean, I love both races. Monaco is one of my favorite F1 races. And I was definitely watching it, and on track or like in my hotel room between like all the 500 stuff. But on the other side, it also allows drivers to maybe go for another triple crown. Just
yeah.
saying, it would be really cool to
I mean,
see that happen or
back
an attempt.
many years ago in like the 1950s into the early 60s, the Indy 500 was part of the Formula One
Right.
calendar.
Totally.
And yeah, it's like, are you going to see a case where somebody sneaks away from the Formula One schedule to run Indy? I mean, that's logistically probably going to be Well, will be more challenging than doing the double with the Coke 600, but
Yeah.
That there's that little opening that in the that we could
Yeah,
potentially
if it
see
ends up
that.
being a free weekend with Monaco moving, it'll be, I know speculation's already started of will anybody maybe try to qualify?
Or at the very least, we'll see Max Verstappen in a suite at the 500 because he
That's the
makes
other point.
he
You'll
he
get a lot of people there.
he makes comments of like, yeah, people have asked, would you run the Daytona 500? No, but I will someday be there in the seats drinking beer watching it. So that's,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and
But
there's a lot of broadcasters that love it. I'm sure we'll get to see some of them who are typically in Monaco come over, and that'll be great. I think it's good. I'd like to see more kind of crossover between F1 and IndyCar. I think they're very similar, but what I've noticed, and we just did some beta testing for a new book that's an IndyCar book, an IMS book, and I got people who are big time F1 fans. And I was surprised that there's not a lot of understanding about kind of the Indy 500 traditions and things like the milk. Like, I got questions like, what's milk have to do with racing? And what are the bricks? Why is somebody putting their lips on the bricks? What is with that? So there's still a lot of kind of education that needs to happen there. And a lot of the new fans don't know that fact that F1 races used to happen at IMS and they used to be part of the schedule. So I think splitting them up, I think could help with that.
yeah, and the thing is, like, the brick tradition is not even that
Yeah,
old.
it's
Like,
right.
it's not like the milk tradition. It's a new tradition, so to speak, or a newer tradition, so to speak.
Yeah, it'd be fun if we could see the similar like Kyle Larson effect coming over from NASCAR to run the 500. You get one of the big name Formula One drivers to do it. Does that generate some more interest in the IndyCar? Does it pull fans back over to the Formula One side? Does it just help motorsports all together again?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like they're independent organizations, they're competitors, but like in this modern age of attention grabbing, and we've talked about this last week. Kyle Larson proved it. Like these groups, like they need to work together. If we learned anything in the 90s, the IRL and CART split did irreparable at this point damage to US motorsports. Like NASCAR, you know,
I agree. Yeah,
benefited from it. But in 2024, and as it's been pointed out to you, is we live in the TikTok generation where 30 seconds is all you get. And if you don't hook me in, actually, if you don't hook me in 3 seconds, I'm done. And they're fighting for TV time on channels where nobody has cable anymore. It's like, of course nobody's gonna watch it. Nobody's gonna pay $7, $8 a month for your special streaming platform
mhm.
consistently. So it there needs to be a an unofficial alliance, so to speak, if these groups are going to survive long term and grow in what they hope to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we're witnessing a little bit of I don't want to say like a motorsports renaissance, but I think there is kind of an upward trend of more interest in motorsports, and maybe it's like a knock-on effect of Drive to Survive and that popularity growing in F1, and then F1 fans in the US looking to other series like IndyCar and NASCAR, and um, yeah, and even IMSA, which is more accessible. What I've seen is that like F1 fans really love the racing, but when you go to a race, there's no access unless you're
And
in
those
Paddock Club or you're VIP. But if you go to an IndyCar race, yeah, you can go and see the garages and you see the drivers walking
same
around
with
and
NASCAR.
NASCAR too.
Yep.
Yeah, you can go walk on the track and sign your name on the start finish line. That never happens in F1. And I think Americans, we're very experiential when it comes to sports. And I think there is some overflow that happens with these series, and it shouldn't be competitive. It should be kind of collaborative, like you said.
And, the actually there's a clip I sent to you, Eric, yesterday. It was a group of drivers, and I think it was like Max and Carlos, and I want to say Lando Norris. They were there was like four or five of them in a circle chatting, and you see the Drive to Survive boom mic kind of hanging over the center of the circle, and Max just looks up and grabs the mic and just pushes it out of the circle, and then they go on and keep talking. Like that's like On a day-to-day basis, I find myself liking Max Verstappen more and more just because of things like that. I
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he just doesn't care. Like he just does not fit the mold of like I'm sure his management team just every time he does something like that or says something, they're just like, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
I think
kind
it's
of like
great.
the new Kimmy, the new Kimmy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's kind of like that too. But yeah, he's gotten to the point where like he does his talking on the track and that's about it.
It's
But
there's been kind of the shift with him over the last like 2 years of it's just kind of like it was like the almost like the movie Office Space where it's just kind of very like uptight, stressed, and then it's just like one day something happened and just he stopped caring. And then he just like, I'm gonna speak my mind, I'm gonna say whatever I feel like. I'm gonna openly boycott these press conferences because they didn't like that I swore last week. Yeah.
yeah.
And I race until 3 o'clock in the morning before I actually race, just because I want to.
Then the commentators give him a hard time about it. Then he goes out and wins anyway. It's like
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I hear he's pretty personable, like from people that have spoken to him or met him. He's pretty, chill and fun outside of
I think he would be a fun one just to like spend the evening and hang out with and just either go out or game or something. I think it would be a blast.
he like just his whole comments, his whole attitude of the Daytona 500 is that, if he went up today and said, I want to drive in the Daytona 500, there would be a line of opportunities for him to get in a car, in truck, Xfinity, Cup. There'd be no shortage of offers there. But instead, he's like, no, I want to go sit in the seats and drink beer and watch the race. It's his approach.
we'll
And it's
see. We'll
just
see if that happens.
yeah, it's like, what, Max, you have an open invitation when I someday live my dream of sitting on top of an RV in the infield at Daytona on a lawn chair with a cooler full of beer. Well, I'll bring the beer. You can have the lawn chair next to me and we'll just sit on the RV, somebody's RV and drink beer. It's like check two things off the bucket list at once.
That would be a fun thing to do.
I agree.
Daytona or Talladega, one of those tracks.
Just that culture. So, on the topic of NASCAR, Andy, you've been going to Homestead recently. How's that? So that was just let's see, you saw that was the Tyler Reddick pass, wasn't it, this year? Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think we stayed to the very end of the race. I watched it on the way
Oh,
home. Again, it's like I went with my wife and kids,
yeah.
and it was hot at Homestead. So it was, but yeah, I've been going I actually went to that race last year. I've been getting more into NASCAR. I really enjoyed the Full Speed documentary and some of the other. I didn't realize this, but NASCAR has a ton of shows, and ton of like content about the drivers and their background and racing, and it's great. And I've been really getting into it. And yeah, I'm working on a book, an ABCs of NASCAR book, very similar to ABCs of racing, ABCs of IndyCar racing. I don't know if I've mentioned it to you guys before, but my goal is to create books for all racing series. So I'm trying to add new series every year, and one I'm working on for hopefully next year is an ABC's of NASCAR book, and it's been fun to work on that, and you guys have kind of been helping out with that, and I really appreciate that. There's a lot of interesting things about NASCAR, and I enjoy the races. I think I like the super speedways more, or like the short tracks where there's a lot of pumping um, but it's been fun to kind of get to know that series, and it's also got a lot of drama and politics,
Hmm.
which is fun. The
Yeah,
whole
it definitely got
Jordans.
evidenced at the end of the year this year.
Yeah, we've got one of the biggest personalities in the history of sports, if not the biggest, going to court against NASCAR.
Yeah,
And it's been a very mixed bag of results so far for them. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, which we've discussed that lawsuit a little bit. We're not lawyers. I don't pretend to be a lawyer, but it takes a lot of courage and it requires a lot of resources to take on a monster of NASCAR size, but you got a guy who's the outline of him are on football jerseys, soccer jerseys in
This
Yeah.
is a
NASCAR.
If anyone can, he can.
He's
this is a true heavyweight bout,
yes,
Oh
he is
yeah.
unlike
a
what we saw this past weekend.
he is
Oh
a
man.
oh yeah, we were good.
Let's not go there.
I put it on just because, and I caught the end of the fight before, which was, probably made it worth it. But oh boy. The other interesting thing about it is numerous states prohibited sports books from allowing people to bet on it because they couldn't definitively prove the match wasn't fixed.
Oh wow.
So there were like 7 or 8 states that prohibited their sports books from allowing bettors in their state to bet on it, which is kind of wild. And watching what we saw with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, it's like it's hard to think that it wasn't fixed based on that. It's like I get it that he's a man in his late 50s who wasn't in the best shape by any means, and it just I don't know. It's just I I,
Yeah.
I watched
It's
this and I'm just like, what was that?
a bit of marketing, maybe.
Oh, it was all marketing. It
Yeah.
was all marketing, no anything else. And I don't think I've ever seen like I've seen fans in a boxing match boo the judge's decision. I've never seen the fighters essentially the fighters get booed in the final round of a fight because it's like there's still like 30 seconds to go in the final round and Jake Paul drops his gloves and it's like, come on, just
Yeah.
go throw that punch, knock him out. Didn't happen.
Yeah, it'll be fun to
Oh,
see as we go through the off season here if NASCAR does indeed make any adjustments or changes. It doesn't sound like it, but there is still a lot of reverberation going through
there's a lot of risk
from
too.
those last couple races, and then especially with this lawsuit, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been interesting if Tyler Reddick won, or
yeah.
or if 2311 got that championship while suing NASCAR. I think
You
that would have
got
been
the
real
the
interesting.
defendant handing the plaintiff a trophy.
Oh man, that would have been. Oh man, Michael
That,
Jordan would have loved that.
if it wasn't for the fact I had a bet on the final race, that was my plan
Oh
B.
yeah.
Like I want to see the awkwardness of that moment, but it wasn't meant to be. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
it's
really, I got to see him on the track. We were walking back in the
right.
garage section and he was there like entertaining at his holler. And I was just like, holy shit, it's Michael Jordan.
That's
And I'm seeing him at a race. It like blows my mind. But
Yeah,
it's really, really cool that he's owns a team at like the team facilities look amazing. I want to go visit.
I mean the
still
number.
wild that he went from being an NBA team owner to selling the team, and now he's in NASCAR racing.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean that wasn't going well for him, but that team was from the day they became the Bobcats and even the rebranding back to the Hornets, that franchise has been pretty brutal.
yeah.
And yeah, they made some lousy draft picks over the years. And yeah, Michael Jordan as the team owner wasn't, and even Michael Jordan as the, what was he, the president of the Wizards, or did he have like a part ownership in that back in the day?
Maybe something.
I forget what his official
Yeah, I don't
relationship there was,
remember.
but that wasn't good either. And it's like, but Michael Jordan, the NASCAR owner, things are going pretty well. It's not very often that you see a new. I mean, we've seen drivers spin off and start their own teams before.
I feel like it
But
happens a lot in
yeah, but it
NASCAR.
doesn't. You see like Brad Keselowski went and joined Roush
Yeah,
Fenway and
And they
Michael
actually just
Waltrip.
announced a new driver.
They did. I didn't. I heard that was rumored for a while, but it's official now.
It is official. Ryan Preece will be driving for RFK in
Interesting.
2025.
So are all four of the Stewart Haas rehomed now?
Um, think so.
Because Chase Briscoe went to Joe Gibbs. Preece is now with RFK. Um,
Then you got Barry. I forget where
Barry
he
went
went.
to, didn't he? Was he the one who went to Wood Brothers?
Oh, yes. Taking over the 21.
So Noah Gregson, I don't know if he has.
I don't remember.
I
I
don't
gotta
know.
catch up with silly season.
Yeah,
There's been
I'm
so much movement.
I'll have to look this up,
It
but
is funny you see
I'm
some of
still
these
learning, so
Hall of
I'm
Famers going into management or coaching, like Wayne Gretzky, mediocre coach. John
oh,
Elway's had a
Noah
mixed bag
Gregson
of
went to,
results with the
that's right.
Broncos.
Oh, he went to front row back over the summer. So
Yeah.
yeah, all four Stewart Haas drivers have been rehomed. So hopefully the staff from the team all can go with them and get everybody situated again. Because I mean that was a rough year for Stewart Haas to go in and he shut down, and then Haas kind of like, well, wait a second here, well, maybe not completely go away.
Yeah, Cole Custer will stay in the Haas factory team car.
So they're gonna have one Cup car and then what, two Xfinity? Is that the plan for next year? I think for the
I
Haas
believe
factory
so.
team. Interesting. So there was also another Formula One rule that I saw recently, and I don't know if this was ever confirmed or not, but for the customer teams, if they finish fifth or better in the constructors, they have like to make their own parts within 3 years. Did you guys hear that? Or am I
Haven't
still?
seen that.
Yeah, I saw
Ooh,
that on. It was a
Question it.
fairly reputable source that posted that, but I was like, that's harsh because like Haas would be an example of that. Um, if I mean, I don't. Haas has done decently well given the circumstances, but I don't, if they've managed to sneak up into fifth and have to do that, I don't know how well that would go for them. Especially
yeah.
when, they were just last year, they were the running joke where their pit box had like, the little mini pit box with three
Oh
people on
yeah.
it. It's like, we don't need 8 people sitting out there. I was like, okay, I mean, fine.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how these last few races go, especially for the characters.
And let's see if the utility hole covers stay attached this time.
Oh man, don't get me started with Vegas.
It's just
Oh,
like
poor
this.
Carlos.
This is the race that like nobody wants except for a handful of people, but they're the ones with the checks. So it's like, okay, like
Yeah, but now it
nobody in
could be
Las
the
Vegas
race.
wants it. Yeah, nobody in
No,
Las Vegas
definitely
wants
not.
it. The staff and people that are working there don't want it. Uh, it's just
I don't think fans really want it that much either, because from what I heard, they haven't been selling that many
no,
tickets, and
because
hotels have been really cheap. Like,
Yeah, you can get the Lewis Hamilton special.
it was like 44% off. And yeah, they're selling tickets like $350 1 day tickets. It was like general admission, but you had a seat. It wasn't standing room, but it was general admission in the bleachers. But you would have like access to complimentary food and soft drinks and water for $350, which is like,
that's not bad.
no, it's not for what it is. That's not bad at all. And the reason one of the reasons why it was scheduled the weekend before Thanksgiving is they said traditionally the weekend before Thanksgiving is Vegas's slowest weekend of the year. And so if you bring this marquee event in the week before Thanksgiving, now all of a sudden it's one of the busiest weeks in theory,
It
but
is. Yeah.
it's just been so mismanaged in many ways that it's like it's like, oh, I was really excited for it when it was announced. And it's like, oh, Las Vegas Boulevard, all the lights. And then you're like, oh, I need to pay $1,400 to buy a 3-day standing room only pass. No thanks.
Right,
Oh, and
right.
then this rundown motel is my cheapest hotel at $600 a night. No thanks.
Yeah. I did hear it's a good experience for people who do go because it is so central, and like you can walk out of a hotel and walk to the track and it's easy, compared to like Austin where it's substantially outside the city and it's pain in the butt to get there and back. That's a plus, and if I could, I'd go. But what's interesting this year is that Max could win his championship in Vegas, and that would make history, it'll be in the record books, so to speak,
And it's just
if that happens.
the best part too is they do that, all the pomp and circumstance of Vegas, and last year they had that whole like those lifting platforms, so they introduced
Yeah.
the teams, and it's just like you could just see on their faces like, oh gosh, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think the drivers especially love the races in America because there's a lot of extra stuff they have to do, like wear football jerseys or cowboy hats,
Yeah, or have
or
cheerleaders, doing a
yeah,
routine as they
exactly,
walk out with smoke shooting at them,
exactly.
like an NFL. Yeah, and I think last year was it Sergio Perez after he was like introduced, and he's like, "Where do I go?" And he's just like standing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Oh
But
man. So I think we got to go ahead and wrap this up because I think we're getting close to our time limit. So again, Andy, always a pleasure coming by. Let's hear the promotion list here of and your social media.
okay, yeah. So yeah, you can find me at Red Racer Books across all social media. Books are sold at redracerbooks.com or Amazon. So now our books are all on Amazon as well. And what's great is that if you order on redracerbooks.com, we have a ton of sales from now until Cyber Monday. So all the books are up to 30% off. Joseph's books 20% off, and it's a good time to buy. They're and what's really cool about Joseph's book, and him and Ashley are doing something really special where they're donating $10 from every book sale to Serious Fun, which is actually a nonprofit started by Paul Newman, the former actor, gentleman driver,
He's kind of
all
the
around
first
great dude.
celebrity turned race car owner.
Yeah,
One of the
exactly.
first.
Yeah, he started this great nonprofit called Serious Fun, which is all about getting kids who are maybe sick and getting them to like these camps where they could just be kids and raise a little hell, he said. So they're very involved in that organization. So they're doing a nice matching kind of donation for Giving Tuesday. So any book spot this month will that $10 will be offered to them from the Newgardens, which is very cool.
Real quick, I completely forgot about this. Holding the book, I'm here. So if you notice, the copy I'm holding here has a signature on it, and if you want to explain that, that I mean, the promotion's over, but
Yeah.
that was pretty incredible. The logistics to make this happen. It's real quick. Can
Yeah.
you tell us about that?
Yeah. So after he won his back-to-back title, we had an idea. Why don't we sign 500 books, the first 500 books? Let's, have him sign them, as a nice kind of tribute and a nice thing for all the people who bought the book and who were kind of lined up first to buy it. So he actually flew down to Miami with his wife, stayed at a hotel in Miami Beach, and came over to my house. And we really literally had 500 copies, actually more, because we actually signed extra books on like my table that I'm sitting at right now. And him and his wife came over, hung out, spent the morning, and like he just went through signing all of them. And yeah, it was really special, have an Indy 500 winner come to my house, hang out. But also really just a nice thing to do. Like that, it took several hours, a few hours. It was actually a lot faster than I expected signing all of them. But yeah, it was really a nice thing to do. And he's been a great partner. I have him doing all sorts of author events and things like that. But this was really special. And I'm glad you guys got to get some of those copies. Those are the first 500 we ever made. So it's very cool.
And it's like you have the picture posted. I'm like, wait, I think that's his house. Like
Yeah.
you got the two-time Indy 500 champion just, randomly flying down and coming over to your house. And I can imagine like once, these drivers get in and athletes in general and celebrities get into autograph mode, it's probably just like, and just stop for however long it took to sign it.
Yeah, I mean, he said this a lot. He says this a lot, but like once he starts doing something, he doesn't like to stop. He likes to do it until it's done.
When you
Same with
get,
like racing, like,
yeah, you get in a car, you got to finish the 500 miles. You can't stop halfway.
yeah. Well, even like he mentioned like, sometimes he'll have to get out of the car or something happened and they don't need him in the car anymore. He's like, nah, I'll just stay. I'm just gonna stay. And yeah, he went through it like we were like, you sure don't break? And you know, he powered through it. But it was great. My wife was super stressed out. She's like, he's gonna come here to our house. Oh my God, we have to do so much cleaning. Um, but it was a lot of fun, and my kids were there, and Ashley was there, and we all got to hang out, and it was really nice, really special.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That is very, very cool.
Definitely.
Not everybody
Well,
can say I've got a celebrity walking through your front door. See, the
yeah,
better part is if your neighbors would have noticed something and then like said, yeah, it's fortunately with IndyCar and some of their recognition of drivers that might be a little more of a challenge than versus if like a Jeff Gordon walked through the door, but still like it's
right,
still really,
right.
really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And thanks for having me again, guys. It's always a
Yep.
pleasure.
So the
Yeah,
new book is
anytime.
Joseph's Big Dream. And Andy, thanks again as always.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up today. frracingonline.com, at frracingonline on social media, and now on Blue Sky. Just search frracingonline.com on Blue Sky. You'll find us, and we've been having a lot of fun over there. Actually, a lot of iRacing motorsports people have popped up in there in recent weeks. We've been there just waiting for everybody to join. So head on over, give us a follow there as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.